Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another live stream. We do it every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. If you don't know me, my name is Justin Moore of Creator Wizard, where I teach the business of being a creator. And I'm super excited today because we have a very special guest today, y'all. So today I'm excited to be chatting with Daniel Batal, who is a content creator with over 200,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel, and he's a professional channel consultant as well. Daniel is on a journey to put a comb through all the intricacies of video editing and publishing to YouTube in order to help creators create new and exciting content, and most importantly, grow their channels. So, welcome, Daniel. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I just think it's funny when I hear you say that I'm going to be putting a comb through anything, because clearly I have no idea what a comb does.
No, it's all good, man. And no, but I hope you enjoyed that. It was like I was like bringing you up on stage, like it was like really hyping you up. You know,
I need to hire you to come to all of my parties, and when I go to the supermarket, can you just tell people Daniel will be entering the vegetable aisle?
That is a great idea. I'm definitely going to be. I'll just be like following you around, just like commentating. But thanks so much for joining us. For those of you guys who are joining in, let us know where you're tuning in from. And we're going to be talking all about sponsorships for micro-influencers today, a couple of fun things, and income obstacles. This is another thing I really want to talk about, especially moving into 2022. A lot of creators have goals, really ambitious goals, whether it's related to channel growth or related to, the income or the money that they want to be making from their channels and their social presence. But also I wanted to talk about regrets, because, both of us have been on social media for a long time. I've been on social media for over a decade. And it's just sometimes I reflect on like where we have come from and like, the lessons learned over the years. So we're going to be chatting about that as well. So if you have any questions for Daniel, have any questions for us today about brand deals and sponsorships and things like that, leave it in the chat. Thanks. What's up, Viper? Thanks for tuning in, man. Lily MUA, Marcus Presents, D and Fam, Magic Flynn, Flying Potato, Keto Twins, Simply Sun, Yumi and Sicily. What's up with DJ? Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. So Daniel, why don't we kick it off? So give us a little bit about your background, how you got started helping creators grow on social media.
Sure. Yeah, specifically, I came to the platform originally with my son. We had a channel that was called Extreme Food Reviews, and we're doing that originally as a father-son thing, just learning the ins and outs of YouTube. And when my son got to the point, I always told him, hey, when this feels like a job and a chore, let's not do this anymore. And of course, it did at some point. After about 50 videos, he'd rather be playing with his friends than filming videos with his dad. So he what I did is I still enjoyed creating, so I decided to keep going, but start a new channel. And the channel I started was pretty much based upon my own thing that I was doing. I was trying to learn how to make better content, put it onto YouTube, and grow a YouTube channel. And as the channel started becoming successful, and as I started learning a better way to do that, that's when I started actually connecting with people who were would reach out and say, hey, can you give me a hand? I see that you're managing to find some success, and I've been struggling. And that was just something that sort of came in naturally. I began working with companies like TubeBuddy, helping them develop the products, showing up at Vid Summit, VidCon, Clamor, you name it, social media marketing world, as part of the TubeBuddy team, and talking to the creators in person while I was out there and pulling up their channels and, rifling through them. So that it sort of was a natural progression that the more I started, working towards building my own brand, the more I wanted to help other creators do the exact same thing. I think that it's a real struggle to try to grow a channel on YouTube, and I think a lot of people get it wrong, or they spend too much time focusing on things that aren't important instead of the things that are. So I wanted to make sure that as I learned to become more successful on the platform, that I help other creators do the same thing.
That's an interesting progression, because I feel like a lot of creators, I think a lot of creators have a hard time looking at their channels objectively, right? Because it's like there's a lot of emotion wrapped up into it, especially for smaller creators, because it's very easy to kind of compare yourself with other creators out there who have been doing it for a very long time. Folks like you and Roberto Blake and Nick Nim and D Nim, and a lot of this has to do with like making very small incremental improvements to your content over many years. And I think that's a very difficult thing for a lot of people if you aren't in this for the long haul, because it's very easy to get very frustrated, I think, right? But just putting out a couple videos and just being like, why isn't anyone watching my content? So it's really, really cool that you're helping people do that. So talking all about brand partnerships. I know you've done a lot of that over the years. And so I was curious your take on, like, what do you think are some of the biggest myths about getting brand deals when you're starting out?
Well, the single biggest myth I think out there is that you need to be a huge creator to land a big brand deal. I've disproven that many times over. A lot of people in my channel memberships group have disproven that many times over. It's just usually, I think, creators in general have the wrong idea of what a brand deal or a sponsorship looks like for the type of channel they're trying to create. So not understanding what a real brand deal looks like, trying to aim for brands that are either the wrong brands for the type of content they make or the wrong size brands for the type of content they're trying to make, is usually that lack of alignment is the problem. And so when I work with creators and get them back into alignment, that's when they really start connecting with brands that are more than happy to work with them and throw quite a bit of money and product at them as well.
We've got Roberto Blake in the chat, and he's saying here, Hair Force One.
There we go.
I love this
Thank
right
you,
there.
Roberto.
Hair Force One. That is epic there.
That's awesome.
But you're right. I mean, when it comes to like doubling down, when I give, this advice to creators about brand partnerships, they're always very surprised, because like the idea of like niching down and doubling down on the thing, the intuition, I think, for a lot of creators is that if I double down on a niche, I'll have less brand opportunities. Right. And when I tell people, actually, it's the opposite. You'll have 5, 10x the amount of brand opportunity. I always love to give this anecdote where, I run an influencer agency, and we did a campaign for a wireless carrier, like a cell phone company. And they found that their audience that they were resonating with was the FIRE community, financial independence, retire early. Mm-hmm. And so they went out there, and we found a creator who had less than 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. But you know what his niche was, Daniel? It was budgeting for active duty military.
Right. Perfect.
How much more specific can you get? Right. And so the point there was that not only did they hire that person, paid them very well, but they went around and they used that content and turned it into an ad. So it's like, as a creator, and so they were able to target other active duty military. So it's, as a creator, it's always very important. It's not, you have a lot of value. It's not just about the people that are organically following you. The brand can then go turn around and use that content and reach a lot more people, right? So it's like, you need to know your worth as a creator. It's not just about who follows you, right?
Yeah. Well, it's great that we have Roberto Blake here in the chat, mm-hmm. because I presented along with Roberto as well at VidSummit this year. My presentation was specifically big brand deals for small creators, and part of that presentation was I had to quote Roberto from a conversation that we had on my channel, where Roberto said, be a brand ambassador before anyone pays you to be a brand ambassador. And I thought that nailed it. The idea of being able to think about, well, listen, there are people out there, creators out there, that think that magically some connection is going to happen. But what you really need to be doing is start doing exactly what you said. Get into some sort of alignment, get into a conversation where brands can see the value in what you're creating before you've ever made a deal with them. Because if you make it hard for them to understand where that alignment might be or what value you bring to the conversation, value is not always a dollar figure number. It's about what do you bring to the conversation, and can you help bring other brands and sponsors into that portion of the conversation and the audience you reach in an effective manner that would make those community members either remember that brand, get interested in that brand, or put that brand just in their head. So even if they aren't clicking a link this minute, maybe tomorrow when they do go to, try a live streaming software that you might be associated with it, they go, oh, what's that one that Daniel always talks about? And they go and they find it. So that's really what brands are learning now, is it's about conversations, not specifically the physical size of the creators they're trying to reach.
Absolutely. And you actually released a video a few months back that I wanted to kind of get your take on. Let me pull this one up here because I thought this was really fascinating. And it was called "Don't Let Brands Tell You How to Talk to Your Audience." And so I was wondering if you could expound on this a little bit more, because I think that this is a really fascinating concept, and I think a lot of creators need to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, that was actually a snippet. I did a series of very short. You can see that's only about a minute long. That was while I was at VidSummit. I like to share the things that are going on in some of the presentations and the conventions that I go to, and bring it to the community that I talk to. And that specific video I had mentioned, it was part of my presentation, where one of the channels that the creators that I coach, who's Gabby, her channel name is Gabby. She's someone who had said that. We had conversations many times over, and one of the things that we really dialed in on is making sure that the brands that you're trying to make deals with don't control the way that you talk to your audience, because there are brands out there that will reach out and say, hey, this is what we want you to do. We want you to make an unboxing video. We want you to be, at least 4 minutes long. You need to use these taglines, and they start talking to you as if they hired you to work for their company instead of the real value that you bring. If you have a channel that reaches even, several hundred, several thousand people every week, that means there's people who are coming back to listen to you as a creator, what you have to say, the conversation that you're in. So what you want to do is try to integrate that brand into your conversation. The example from that video was there was that was Gabby had been approached by a company. She does specifically hair on her channel because she's an actual hairstylist, owns a salon in Canada, and she had been approached by a brand that actually had it was called Blow Brusher. It was like a hair dryer and styling wand in one, and they wanted her to do an unboxing. And she said, I've done the research. Nobody knows your brand name. I've done SEO research. I'm not seeing a lot of relevance. It's not like people would recognize your brand name. And if I just do an unboxing of it, I'm leveraging the product in a way that it feels like a commercial or an advertisement. What she did instead is she said, let me talk to my community and my target audience in a way that they expect me to talk to them. They come to me for hair tips. So she decided to make a video that was, I no longer use a flat iron to straighten my hair, and maybe you shouldn't either. And that video started blowing up and got tons of conversion, because instead of doing this simple unboxing and doing a hard sell, that's what a lot of brands and sponsors might, because they come from a marketing end where they don't quite understand how YouTube works. When you can speak to them in terms of a creator, where you say, listen, these are conversations. If we can bring your product in organically and have it make sense to the conversation, let's leverage the conversation and then bring the product into it, instead of leveraging the product and trying to build some kind of conversation around it. And that worked out really well for the both of them.
I love that. And it's, I think a lot of it comes down to, I think creators, when they get into this interaction with brands, I think a lot of times they feel pressured into doing certain things. Yeah. They are very excited about partnering with the brand, and they feel as though they are not able to. I think a lot of creators think that the only thing they can negotiate is the price. That's like the only lever they have when it comes. But what I teach creators is that you can literally negotiate anything. You can negotiate the terms. You can negotiate the timeline. You can negotiate the usage rights, the exclusivity. You can negotiate the messaging, right? If they send you the brief and it's like this laundry list of things, you got to say all these are required, these 10 points, you come back and say, hey, just like you said, this is not, my audience is not going to receive well. Give me the 2 to 3 most important messages that you really want to get across. And I think a lot of creators, you'd be surprised, brands will come back and be like, oh, thank you so much for educating us and letting us know that, this is not going to be well received, right? No one's ever said that to us before, right? So it's like, I think that's a very, very powerful point. One thing I wanted to ask you is, I think a lot of creators struggle with the balance aspect, which is how do you maintain a balance between growing your channel as a creator, but also the business stuff, right? Because it's you need to make money to keep the lights on, and you need to, a lot of creators know that, AdSense is nice, but you can make a lot of money working with brands and sponsors and things like that too. So it's how do you, as someone who focuses a lot on channel growth and strategy and things like that, how do you think about it from a business perspective?
Well, my approach has always been pretty simple. The thing that I do is the same thing I try to teach all of my coaching clients. Try to find the conversation you want to be in first, right? I think a lot of people just make content and they're not focused, and they don't have a great channel value proposition, and they aren't staying consistent to that value proposition, and they aren't trying to build their own brand ahead of time. And if you can build a brand and you can build a value, you don't have to have a ton of subscribers and followers. You just have to be consistent and have a good growth pattern. And once you understand the conversation you want to be in, what you can do is you can start leveraging brands and sponsors that make sense to that conversation. Because if you're trying to shoehorn sponsors, brands, companies that want to work with you that don't necessarily make sense in the overall value proposition that you're trying to further on your channel, or come in conflict with other sponsors that you already have in your channel, then you're just chasing the dollar, it becomes severely problematic. I think one of the hardest things I try to teach creators is don't let your entire channel turn into a giant commercial for things. I see this with tech channels a lot. They just want to give me a product and I'm going to unbox it. Give me a product and I want to unbox it. where I really try to teach people more about start with the conversation and then see where organically brands fit in. So for me, a lot of times it's, remember, not all content has to be made on your channel. You can land deals where you're making content on other people's channels. I've done it with StreamYard. I've done it with TubeBuddy. I've done it with TubeSpanner. I've done it with Morning Fame. Worked with a whole bunch of different brands on their channel instead of mine. So understanding what it is the brand is asking of you, right? What is it we're going to do here? What are we going to build? Where's that content going to land? Is it even going to be on YouTube? Is it going to be on your website? Where's it going to be? And leveraging those things so that not everything is focused on you have to make a video on your channel and this is what it has to be about. Make it organic, make it make sense to the conversation you're trying to have, stay true to that value, and then things kind of flow a little bit easier for you.
Yeah, it's a great point. And this idea about, this content that you can create that doesn't even live on your channel. It's like exclusive to the brand's YouTube channel or the brand's website or something. I tell creators this a lot, which is that you're a production company in a box, truly, right? Because if they didn't hire a creator to create that content, what do they have to do? They have to go out and they have to hire a production company or an ad agency. They have to hire actors or actresses to star in this content, right? So it's like, it costs a lot of money, right? So I think a lot of creators discount this value that they're bringing to the table. And not to mention the fact that oftentimes you have an organic audience, organic distribution that you can put the content to too. So even if it doesn't live on your channel, you can promo it on your channel, things like this too. So it's like you said, like think a little bit outside of the box when it comes to your value that you're bringing to brands. And like you said, if they reach out to you and it's not a great fit organically for your audience, but you do think you can still bring value to that brand, you can turn that pitch around. I talk about I teach this content called pivoting. You pivot the proposal that you're giving to the brand, and where it's not about, we're doing that. My wife and I do live commerce now on Amazon Live. And so when we get an inquiry that they reach out to us for YouTube or for Instagram, and we're like, I don't really think this would be a good fit for our audience. Hey, but we're more than happy to like include it in a 1.5 hour live stream on Amazon. Let's do this. Right. So it's like, think outside the box. You're only limited by your own creativity, I think. As a creator.
Well, you said a big thing right there, this is something that creators don't think about sometimes when they're small and they're so dead set on landing that deal. Don't be afraid to say no. Some things just won't make sense. I've had plenty of companies who reached out to me that don't make sense with my value proposition. Companies, and I'm not that they're great companies. I've had Wix chase me for years to talk about how to make your own custom website. But the value proposition of my channel is teaching creators to make better content, put it on YouTube, and grow a YouTube channel. So a website doesn't necessarily fit into that proposition organically. So I say no, and they were ready to spend whatever, tell me the number and let's do it. It just didn't make sense. And so being able to find the ones and say where it does make sense, drop them in, like you said. I've had other people come along and say, listen, we don't necessarily want you to do a whole video about our product. What we'd like you to do is sponsor what you do. We're willing to, can you put our name associated with, what are you doing? Teaching people how to edit better videos. If you're doing one of your live streams, can you just say that, sponsored by a quick, 20-second spot where you'll mention today's content was brought to you by the good people at, maybe it's Wix. If you are interested in creating your own website, check out the links I'll put down in the description below. We'd like to thank Wix for bringing this content to you out there as creators. And then get back to the thing, because there's ways to take things that even organically may not fit and put it into something that does make sense to your value proposition, as long as it doesn't overwhelm it.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I love, by the way, that you're so experienced that you just did a brand plug right there. You didn't need to look at any messaging. It's like, it rolls off your tongue, right? And that's another piece of advice that I give to creators, that a lot of creators, I think, feel so paralyzed, especially when you're starting out, of like that they just don't want to screw it up. And so they are very hesitant to like reach out to brands themselves. They just wait until messages land in their inbox. And like, one of the biggest pieces of advice I can give about this is that it takes repetitions of working with brands and like understanding the back and forth. It's a business transaction a lot of times, right? So it's like, yes, you want to work with brands who value and give you creative latitude to execute well to your, to your audience and things like that too. But to some degree, it does come down to getting some experience, right? So it's like, you got to get out there. You got to get experience with it. And I love that advice. And by the way, if you have any questions for Daniel, leave it in the chat. And I just wanted to acknowledge real quickly, Diana, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. I really appreciate that. Really means a lot. For those of you guys who are interested in creating your own course, Diana has an amazing YouTube channel talking about niches, Daniel. Her channel is all about creating online courses. So it's like very focused. So really appreciate that, Daniela. Thank you so much for tuning in as always. And Savvy Tech Tips, thanks for tuning in. Marcus Presents, and Marcus, thank you so much. Justin Scott has helped me to say no to many bad proposals in the last few months. Feels good. There we go. And Marcus, another thing, Daniel, that I teach is that, like saying no frees up your ability and your mental real estate to focus on the partnerships that really do make sense, right? Because I think a lot of creators, like you said, they do a lot of these kind of like one-off deals or like a big volume of partnerships, but it's not for very much money, right? And so it's like sometimes it's going to take saying no so that you can, free up your time to focus on the partnerships that really make sense, right?
Yeah, well, one of the very first things I did was like learn how to find that alignment, who to say exactly, like you said, who to say no to. The like I had built a lot of content on my channel showing people how to edit better content, and I was using like a simple software called Filmora. It's a very affordable intermediate video editing software. But I had made like almost 50 videos on my channel showing people how to do different things that weren't just necessarily, here's how you use a transition, here's how you make a cut. I was physically showing them technique and style and how to think outside the box. But I had about 50 of those videos done, so I already had built a value around something that when I went out to actually I actually reached out to Filmora. They didn't reach out to me. I tried to control that conversation. I knew I had something of value. I knew those videos collectively had driven millions of targeted views. So when I reached out to them, their response was, hey, yeah, well, we can get you into our affiliate program. And I controlled the conversation. I said, no, I actually had something different in mind. And because I was a general contractor for 35 years, I'm used to showing up at someone's house and they want something done, and I'll do an entire proposal. So I had a complete proposal saying, this is what I'd like to do. This is how many videos it would be over the course of a year. It's a solid 5-figure deal. I can show you the data on what the videos have done so far, where the channel is headed, the growth trajectory. And I think that you should really team up on this because we could do something powerful. And they went from offering me, well, we can get you into our affiliate program, to me becoming the very first brand ambassador ever for Filmora. They'd never even done it before. But I was able to have a conversation in a way where they saw the value. I said, that's the thing you want to do? Let me talk to you about the thing I think we should do. I think will be really powerful. And not to pat myself on the back, but I know because I was the only guy that was showing up in search, beating the Filmora channel for all the new products, all the new techniques on both Google and YouTube. So I helped single-handedly put their name as a video editing software into the conversation. That's the kind of power you can have as a creator.
Amazing. And what I really, really love about that, Daniel, is that I think a lot of creators feel like, oh, every brand does influencer marketing. They've worked with creators, like, it's like, everyone gets it, right? But there are still tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of brands that have never worked with creators before, and they're terrified, right? Especially a lot of traditional brands who have never worked with creators, they just don't want to lose the control. They're just they don't want to they're scared of blowback of working with the wrong influencer and things like that too. So I made a tweet the other day where I was like, if you can make a brand feel warm and fuzzy, safe and comfortable, right? They're going to pay you money, right? Because you need, yes, it's going to be a little bit more education, right? Because they've never really worked with a lot of creators before, but there's just so many brands out there that have never done it. I just filmed a video the other day about another kind of 2022 tactics to make money as a creator. And one of the things I talked about is working with local businesses, local brands. They have marketing budgets. Especially if they have a brick and mortar location, they need to pull people into their stores. So can you come in as a, social influencer creator strategist to help drive foot traffic? It's going to be a different strategy, right? Because you're marketing to your local community, but all you need to do is use your platform as a creator as your portfolio, right? And at that point, it doesn't really matter how many followers or subscribers you have, right?
Yeah, well, you nailed it right there. It's I think a lot of creators come to the platform and they automatically have these delusions of grandeur. All right, I'm going to reach out to Nike. I'm going to reach out to Apple. I'm going to reach out to Samsung. I'm going to reach out to all these huge brands. And that's a lot of those brands are really tough to even get any kind of alignment with, never mind get into some sort of sponsorship agreement. So, find brands that make sense for your value proposition. One of my channel members who I did a coaching session with, he wanted to start driving more revenue. He had 2,000 subscribers. His channel name was the Dogfather Barbecue, right? Dogfather's Barbecue. He did smoking and grilling and everything in his backyard. And he had been doing pretty well on the channel. But we did a session, and within a week's time, he had 5 to 7 brand ambassador deals on the table with people looking to send him $1,000 smokers, griddles, you name it, everything that he could possibly use on his channel, because all we had to do was get his value into a nice media kit and have him reach out to who we thought was the right connection. It wasn't Weber. It wasn't those huge names and grills that were top tier. We went for the middle. We went for those smaller ones that were established. They were getting out there. It was products he knew, he liked, and he went right for those ones he thought he could have connection with. And he nailed it.
I absolutely love that. You're totally right. Is that I feel like, you know, one of the other things too is that I think a lot of creators forget the obvious potential partners for them, right? It's in your house, right? Look to your right. It's the equipment that you're using. It's the clothes that you're wearing. It's like, depending on what type of creator you are, but like go into that portion, that corner of your house, right? Maybe you're like a craft enthusiast or something like there's brands in your house that are the perfect fits for you. You don't need to wait for them to reach out to you, right? And how much more powerful is it when you can reach out to the brand, do a cold pitch and say, hey, I have been using your product for 3 years. I've been featuring it. I haven't talked about the brand per se, but I've been featuring it in my content here. Here's an example of a video I just posted 2 weeks ago. Like I have an authentic affinity for your brand, right? It's like so much more powerful. I think a lot of creators think that, oh, they just have to like wait for the brand to reach out to them. And another really important point is that, like, if you don't want to go out there and do education, you know, to like reach it and do cold pitching, right? Go follow the other creators in your niche and see what brands are partnering with them, because those are the brands that already realize the value of creators and the value of influencer marketing. And, you know, you can go out and reach out to those brands, right? So it's like, I just don't buy the excuse that like, oh, like no brand would ever want to partner with a creator in my niche.
Oh, I totally don't. No,
you know, it's like, yeah. So it's like, the onus is on the creator. The onus is on you, those folks who are watching, to go out and figure out what brands would be a good fit for you. So, man, my head is spinning already. We're already dropping a bunch of gems. If you have any questions for Daniel, leave it in the chat. Yeah, El Jefe says, alignment is key. Jeff is dropping some gems here. That's exactly
you dropped a huge gem right there when you talked about like reaching out to following creators and trying to figure out someone who's similar to your niche and who they're working with. How about don't be afraid to follow the brands you want to work with. When you do some research and find some mid-tier brands that you look and you go, I don't even know if they're working with anybody yet, get into their conversations. Follow them on Twitter. Follow them on Instagram. If they have a YouTube channel, subscribe to their channel. Get into the conversations. And when I say get into the conversations, I don't mean jump into their DMs or jump into their comment section and be like, I have a channel and you should sponsor me. Don't do that. Get in there. Talk. If it's brands you're interested in, talk about them. If they get a new product out, talk about the product, ask them questions, be part of their conversation, get on their radar, and it'll be easier for you when you do get to the point that you want to potentially reach out and make a brand deal. They might actually know who you are by that point. That's exactly what happened with me and Filmora. I had been, every time I would post a video up on YouTube, if I wanted to share that out on Twitter, I wouldn't just share a Filmora video and go, hey, look, I'm going to show you how to do this technique in Filmora. I would say, hey, if you want to learn how to turn yourself into Annoying Orange using @Filmora_editor, their tag, because I followed them and I was in their conversations, I'll teach you how to do it today in this video. So that I wasn't spamming them. I was letting them know I was using their product. I was getting it on their radar. They could choose to do nothing with it. They could choose to share it. They could choose to engage. But I did that enough. By the time I finally actually sent in a proposal to the headquarters, they actually started reaching around to the divisions and go, we got this guy, Daniel Batal, who wants to be a brand ambassador. All the other heads of divisions went, oh yeah, we know Daniel. They knew who I was because I'd gotten into the conversation, and it made it easier for them to see where the value was and why there might be a good alignment to work with me.
100%. And, another thing, Daniel, that I hear a lot is that creators think, well, I don't want to talk about a brand, because they won't want to pay me if I'm just talking about their brand a lot, because it's like, oh, why should I hire Daniel? Because he's already talking about Filmora and all this stuff. And one of the pieces of advice that I always give is look, the reason that brands want to pay creators is oftentimes they have some sort of promotion or some sort of campaign where they need you to say, go click here and there's a 25% off promotion right now for Black Friday or something. It's a promotion, right? So are you saying that organically when you're talking about the brand on your channel? No, you're not. You're saying, here's the things that I love, but there's specific things or specific messaging that they want you to say. And that's why they're going to hire you. And oh, by the way, if they want to get heightened value out of that asset, they're going to cut that down and run it as a 30-second ad on YouTube for TrueView. And so they need the sound bites. They need certain sound bites for you to say, and they're going to pay you for that, right? So it's like the only way that you're going to get on their radar, or one of the primary ways, is start talking about them. Start talking about the brands that you really want to partner with, because then, especially when you reach out to them, it's going to be so much easier to like get them to feel as though you're going to be a great ambassador for them, because you're already talking about them. You can already screenshot comments from your audience. They're saying, hey, you're talking about this brand, right? So I love that piece of advice.
And bring something new to the conversation. Don't feel like, well, if I want to get in touch with this brand, if I want to get on that brand's radar, I'm just going to keep talking about their product in a way that everyone else does. Be different. Try something different. Be unique. Show that brand that you bring a different voice to the conversation, where they can go, man, we kind of thought we knew what a creator talking about our brand looked like, but this creator really shook things up. That's a really cool video. It's something we haven't seen before. They came at things at a different angle. And if you can do that, you can really get brands excited. One of the things I do too is, if you do reach out to a brand, make sure that you're doing it professionally. Try to make sure that you're prepared for that conversation. Being prepared for the conversation you're going to have with a brand is about 99.5% of it. When I have brands reach out to me, right on my website, I have a free downloadable media sponsorship agreement template, so that if a sponsor reaches out to me and I want to respond, like what they say, what would it look like to work with you? I can do an entire proposal that pretty much reads like a contract, where I fill in the blanks. Let's do this. It would be X amount of videos over X amount of period of time. And I want to make sure that I'm controlling the conversation first, and saying things like, this is what we do, this is how long they'd run, this is what we'd be looking for from you on your end. I want to make sure that I control things like I want to control my AdSense. I want to make sure that if I'm doing a piece of content, that they don't say at the last minute, oh, by the way, don't run ads, because we don't want the ads in front of this piece of content. Or making sure I'm controlling things like revisions, how many times they can make revisions on that piece of content before I start charging them an hourly rate. When you come to a conversation like that, and you come as someone who's actually thought about what that agreement might look like, it's a lot easier for brands to take you seriously, because you're taking the conversation seriously.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you know what? I want to just highlight, I want to riff on this for a second here, because I'm going to challenge you, Dave Cave. Okay. You're saying, I think it would be really tricky to find a brand on a horror show or horror movie show channel. It'd be amazing to have a horror partnership, though. Okay. So I'm going to blow your mind here, Dave. Let's riff on this, Daniel. Okay. So Dave, what is your audience like? Your audience is horror aficionados. What do they do when they watch horror movies? They eat popcorn. They are wearing Snuggies. They're wearing blankets, right? So it's like, these are just two quick ideas I thought of when I read this comment, right? So it's not about like what your mindset needs to be in when you want to find partnerships for your channel. It doesn't have to be directly about your content. It has to be about the mindset and the products and the state of mind that your audience is in when they consume your content, or when they're consuming horror movies or something like that, right? Any ideas here, Daniel?
Yeah, think tentpole events. We just passed Halloween. So someone who loves horror movies is probably the same kind of person when Halloween comes along. They might end up at a party dressed up as like something like a horror costume. So that, right there, when you have a tentpole event and you've got all this stuff, maybe you guys on your channel dress up in horror makeup while you're doing reviews or you're showing stuff like that. Reach out to someone like a company that makes artificial blood for makeup. Someone who does those kind of aesthetic things that you might find in stores around Halloween that represent those horror movies, because they sell masks, they sell all of the costumes, and say, hey, we're actually doing a video reviewing this thing. We could integrate with a company who might be selling these costumes right around Halloween and get them to sponsor the video.
Love it. Super obvious. And another thing too here is that don't be afraid to potentially collaborate, for example, with another creator. Maybe you could potentially collaborate with a makeup artist on your channel who does horror makeup, right? And so like like that's a cool collaboration idea, I feel like, right? So we've talked about this before. You're only limited by your own creativity, and it doesn't have to just be about organic content. It could be for sponsorships as well.
Yep.
So I want to shift gears a little bit, Daniel. We've talked some great stuff about sponsorships now, but I want to talk about income obstacles, because I feel like a lot of folks, especially as they're like looking into, their next 12 months as a creator, they have income goals, right? They like I want to like get monetized on YouTube, or I want to make $1,000 a month, $10,000 a month, whatever scale you're at. Do you have some first of all, how do you think about your own income goals, like for your own channel? Like what are some of kind of the biggest challenges, for you in reaching those?
The challenges in reaching the income goals, it's actually, this is not meant to be a humble brag, but I don't actually have a problem reaching the income that I want to reach. What I have a problem with is doing it effectively in a way that doesn't do the thing we talked about that turns my entire channel into a giant commercial. Because you have to understand, one brand might offer you a deal that looks great on paper, but then you get another brand that offers another deal on paper, and those two brands don't know what the other one's asking. And if you start saying yes to many of them, next thing you know, you start putting it all together and go, oh my gosh, look at all this content that I have to make talking about all these things. I don't even know how I'm going to get to talk about the thing that I really want to talk about. So what I try to do is think about how to organically find things that fit into my value proposition. And I did it this way. Because you got to remember, I was a full-time general contractor. I owned a renovations company for decades, and I decided to leave that to do this. So I had to set some goals right off the bat. I said, listen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to create 10 revenue streams that are 5 figures each. Now, like AdSense is kind of one that's an easier one to do if you can start gaining some traction, and if you can make $800 or $900 a month from AdSense, you go boom, there's my first 5-figure revenue stream. But then I started reaching out to brands, and when brands would reach out to me, a lot of times they'd be like, we want to do this one video. Well, the first thing I learned was, well, don't do one video. If it's a brand you really want to work with, say, listen, I could do one video, but that's only going to drive so many views and have so much reach. What would be really effective is I think you really integrate with my value proposition. What I'd like to do is like a 5-video series playlist where we can actually get your name brought up over a period of time organically in the conversation, and people start associating your product and your brand name with the thing that we do here on the channel. And I can give you a discount on the amount it would cost per video, but you're getting them in for a larger bulk. You're getting them in for a bigger price. And those are the ones you can start getting bigger deals going and spread those out and have them make sense. So make sure that you're thinking about that, like how you're going to integrate those brands instead of what they want you to do. Have the conversation you want to have with them. Offer them more than they're asking for, and come at it in a way that makes them go, oh, I hadn't even thought about that.
Absolutely. And you know what? One of the things that I think is funny with a lot of creators is that I have this saying where it's like, creators, I feel like, fire themselves every single month from their jobs because they do these one-off deals with brands, and then they literally never reach out to the brand again. Right. And it's just like, oh, got to get back on the treadmill, got to go hustle for that next deal. And I'm just like, my mind is blown. I'm just like, do you realize how much easier it is to convince a brand that you've already worked with that you're a valuable partner? You just got done creating amazing content for them. They were thrilled. They even said they were thrilled. And they don't, people don't pitch these kind of repeat longer term partnerships with them. And so a lot of creators say, oh, I want like ongoing revenue and I want certain, income certainty and things like that. But they just literally fire themselves every single week. And so going into these negotiations with brands, it's so critical you have this like long-term mindset. Just like you said, Daniel, it's like you could even say, you know what? It's music to brands' ears when you can say to them, hey, let's do a year-long partnership. Maybe I create one piece of content every quarter, and we can have a quarterly call where we discuss how the last piece of content went, discuss opportunities for improvement. Maybe there's some other seasonal promotion that you want to talk about. It's springtime now, or it's summertime now, or winter, different things. Oftentimes brands are going to want to talk about a different season. So it's like when you illustrate to them that you're willing to like work with them on that type of thing and understand that it's not just about me as a creator. You understand that there's business objectives that they have behind these partnerships that they're working with creators. That's music to their ears. They want to work with creators like that. And at that point, you're not just another creator. You're not a commodity. You're like a partner at that point, right?
Yeah, and that really is, I don't think you can understate that ability to sort of control the conversation, and don't just be reactive to something that comes in an email. Be proactive in what your goals are, building your content a certain way, building your channel a certain way, making sure that the video you put out tomorrow is absolutely optimized for the same type of target audience that your video you put out yesterday and the week before, so that you build something, you build a channel and a catalog that makes sense, that slowly grows over time because it serves the needs of the target audience, and it has a value to it that brands can see. One of the funny things was, when we're talking about reaching out to brands, opportunity and thinking differently is such an incredibly valid point. I recently had ordered, I was doing a song for one of the shows. I write a lot of the music for my videos and for the shows I do with Dean Imman. And we were writing a song and I needed a horn section. I didn't have a horn VST plugin for so I could emulate a horn section. So I bought this horn section from a couple different companies. No matter where I tried to buy it from, I pay the money. It was supposed to be a digital download. I couldn't get the download. They'd be like, "Oh, we'll get back in touch with you when it's available." I'm like, "That's not how downloads work. You take the money, you give me the thing." So I had reached out. I couldn't get it. One of the companies I tried buying it through was a company called Sweetwater, which is like the largest online dealer of musical equipment and recording equipment in the United States. Well, they immediately, when I reached out to them and said I didn't get the download, they went, "No problem. That wasn't our end. We'll figure it out with the manufacturer. Here's your money. Here's your full refund immediately." And it was like a $200 product. They went, "We'd like to give you a $200 credit to use on the platform because we feel terrible about this." Now, I could have taken that $200 and walked away and went, "I'm going to go buy myself something over at Sweetwater." But what I did instead was I said, "Listen, instead of giving me $200, I'm a YouTube content creator. I'd like to talk to you about potentially sponsoring some content on my channel because I use a lot of different types of gear to make the content that I do for the platform. And I'd love to be able to talk to you guys about maybe doing something together because you integrate well. I don't really have a sponsor that talks about some of the gear we use." Well, long story short, they loved it, got bumped up the line. Now I'm a brand ambassador for Sweetwater. They send me all this cool switching stuff to try out and use in my own studio. And it was taking something that was a refund and making a sponsorship brand ambassador deal out of nothing,
I love it, and I'm gonna have to talk to you offline about some of those sweet angles right there because I don't got that, Daniel.
Right.
And the secret is that my room is an absolute mess right now, but you don't know it because there's only one angle.
Just crop out the laundry. That's all you gotta
do. That's I love that, and I love, to some degree it does take a little bit of creativity to like turn stuff like that and into long-term partnerships. And I want to highlight one question here because I'm really curious your thoughts here. Hannity Bailey here says, how about if your views and subs have increased significantly in the time since the first convo about doing multiple videos? Should longer term contracts be significantly higher per video? What do you think, Daniel?
Oh, absolutely. Listen, the more value you bring, the more you should be compensated for the value that you now can bring. I do that every time. Listen, I started out with smaller contracts, and every time I renegotiate with these same companies that would come back, I would have the data. I made sure that I had, the two things that the very first thing I think you should have at all times is a decent media kit put together that sort of has your updated stats, your reach, things like the kind of conversion you're getting, the kind of views you're getting, the kind of watch time you're driving, the kind of audience the comments, the shares, the likes, and have all of these things across the different platforms that you happen to be making content on. So when you do reapproach another brand that you may have worked in the past, you want to be positive and say, "Boy, it was really great working with you. This is how big the channel was when we signed this deal. Now look how big we've grown. Look how many views are on these videos that I made for you. Let me show you the data of how those videos are continuing to drive views." Super important. If you're making content that continues to drive views, you're telling these sponsors and brands that's money in the bank. You spent that money, but it continues to give you ROI, return on your investment. Now I'd like to talk to you about doing something a little bit different, a little bit bigger. Let's sit down, and this is what I'm thinking. Again, control the conversation. Put together a proposal and say, "This is what we did last time, but based on the size, reach of the channel and what we want to do, I'm thinking this," and give them something to chew on. Control that conversation, come to them, but don't do it in a negative way. Don't be like, I think you should pay me more. Be positive, get them, show them the value, show them the growth, show them the return on their investment, and show them where you're heading. And that can be all of it. All you got to do is get them excited about being a partner with you, and they can be really excited, and they'll make those kind of deals.
I love that. If there's one big takeaway I would take from this conversation is just this concept about controlling the conversation. It is your platform as a creator, and you are the one who makes the choice whether you're going to partner with this brand and exactly how that partnership takes place, right? So really, really love that. One of the things I want to ask you about is this concept of revenue diversification. You talked about, I want to have 10 revenue streams with 5 figures each. How important is it, do you think, or like when do you think creators should start thinking about revenue diversification? Because I know especially a lot of smaller creators, they're very obsessed with like getting monetized on YouTube. That's like, their primary focus. It's like watch hours, and I get it, right? It's an exciting thing, but I always say like you can get paid way more money with sponsorships before you ever get monetized as a creator. But yes, it's you still want to have multiple income streams, but like how do you what is the advice that you give about like diversification in general?
Yeah, it's the kind of thing we were talking about earlier. Is think about what the ask is from the sponsor or brand you work with. Perfect example is, I like to use myself as an example because this is what I do every day. I help people make better content and grow their YouTube channels. So in that sense, things like working with someone like Sweetwater, who has the cool gear that I might want to talk about if people are interested in how they actually can get the right mic sound, or they get the right look on their live streams when they're trying to make live streaming content for their channel. That makes a lot of sense. They fill that portion of that conversation. So I'll try not to do another deal or get involved with another brand that I already feel like I have someone in that portion of the conversation. Someone like I'm a brand ambassador for Spreadshop, right? That's where I get all my merch from. Now, Spreadshop integrates with the merch shelf on YouTube, and that's how creators can drive more revenue themselves. So when I want to talk about driving more revenue beyond AdSense itself, that's when you can go. I start talking about Spreadshop and showing people how to set up a Spreadshop for free and start selling merch for free tomorrow, and then integrate it with YouTube on their own merch shelf so that they can actually sell the things they want to sell. Someone like TubeBuddy, I work with TubeBuddy. Part of helping people grow their YouTube channels is understanding how to read their analytics and learn how to do SEO, values and research, and try to figure out the conversations that your target audience is having. So working with someone like TubeBuddy, that's completely different than Sweetwater and completely different than Spreadshop, fills that need, and it fits into my value proposition. And I do this again and again and again. If I'm talking about video editing, I'll work with a Filmora. I've worked with Movavi. I've worked with VideoLeap for mobile devices. So you're just trying to figure out what fits into the conversation. How are these all very different, right? One doesn't necessarily compete with the other. And I can actually talk about what I want to talk about, but I can actually get it to the point. My goal in 2019 was I didn't want to start my camera without being paid. I didn't want to make content and then get like an affiliate link. I wanted every video I made to be a piece of content that somehow I was getting paid for the minute I turned on my camera to film. That was my goal. No matter what I was going to talk about, someone was going to be in there going, oh, yep, this one's brought to you. If we're talking about live streaming today, this one's brought to you by StreamYard. Oh, we're talking about how to get more recommendation on YouTube. This video is brought to you by TubeBuddy. I made sure that I could have the conversation I wanted to have, but I had strategic partners that were different from each other, but all true to the value proposition of my channel.
What I love about that, Daniel, is that you're not afraid to monetize your content. Like, nope. I think a lot of creators think about this is they think, oh, like my audience is going to get really mad at me for like selling out or like talking about a brand and all this stuff. And it's just like, no, you are creating tons and tons of valuable content for free on YouTube, right? So it's like would you work a 9-to-5 job for free? Would you go there, show up, and then not get paid? No, I don't think so, right? So it's like a lot of it comes down to like owning the fact that it's okay to monetize your endeavors as a creator. And you need to be comfortable with that, because the moment that you own that, your audience will get comfortable with it too, right? So whether that's I'm not saying do a sponsorship every single video, but yeah, having affiliates in there, doing sponsorships, like and by the way, it's up to you to foster a culture of support and positivity in your community. And you do not, like you said, you own it. Yeah, I'm working with this brand. Yeah, this is an affiliate. Yeah, this is what I'm doing. This is how I make money and how I provide for my family. Right. So it's like, I think owning it is like a very, very important piece of this. And I just absolutely love that. Road to Finish, Oliver had a question here. Talking about the long-term ROI, any experience on explaining this to a brand that has no experience with influencer marketing and who think about content marketing the same way as they do search engine marketing? What are your thoughts, Daniel?
Yeah, I think you need to show them the value. Start with conversion. I think people don't understand conversion. Every single day, you're converting in one way, shape, or form or another if you're a creator. If you're gets people to subscribe to your channel, that's a form of conversion. If people are watching your videos, that's a form of conversion. If people are commenting, sharing, doing anything like that, that's conversion. Think about how many ways you ask people to do things. Like if you offer a free product on something like a digital download, maybe it's a PDF that you have an email opt-in list, like, yeah, I'll give you this for free. Maybe it's, some tips and tricks on how to grow your YouTube channel. I got a free PDF, you can download it, and you do an email opt-in. Every time you ask someone to do that and they do it, collect that data so you can show it to brands and say, listen, when I ask people to do something, they do it. Even if you're just someone who has videos that you might have Amazon links that are down underneath, your videos, go to Amazon and download all your data and go, every time I have a video and I might mention a product that I'm not even sponsored, it's just an affiliate link, take the affiliate data and go, look how many people I got to click when I said you should go check this out. Showing brands and sponsors how you can get people to convert, do the thing that they really want them to do because you spoke to them, can be super powerful.
I love that. I love that. And like I think a lot of creators, especially like talking about case studies, right? In terms of like what you can actually show brands. A lot of creators think, well, like I don't have a lot of experience working with brands. So I don't have like any case studies or past partnerships. And what I always say is like, use your most representative pieces of content that you could say, hey, if you did partner with me, this is how amazing it would look. Yes, this wasn't in partnership with the brand, but look at this. Look at, like you said, look at how many clicks there were on this Amazon Associates link, or look at how, I drove people to, download a PDF on my website or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a sponsorship that you show a brand, right? So just don't be afraid to like include that in your media kit as like hey, like this is what a partnership would look like. So really, really love that. I wanted to talk about regrets, Daniel. Regrets in our lives. I've been on social media for many years. I like to say everything I've done.
So this is going to be a 2-hour live stream. Then,
This is
right?
going to be yeah, it is. But it's just like, obviously I'll say the cheesy caveat, which is that, everything, I feel like everything that has like I've done in my career has led me up to this point, and I'm a better man for it, right? It's like I try not to regret stuff like that, but like let's talk about like lessons learned in your thoughts. Like when you first started, you were first, starting out creating videos with your son, and then you shifted to another type of piece of content. Like if you had to like reach back in time and put a hand on the shoulder of Daniel from years ago, when you started, what advice would you give him?
Yeah, I would probably have told myself to better understand how YouTube actually works as opposed to how I thought it worked. That's step number one. I don't care what kind of creator you are, what you're doing on the platform. If you've got a YouTube channel and you're making content, you're a YouTube content creator. And the rules of YouTube apply almost 99.9% unilaterally to everyone. There's a couple of different exceptions with some of the new things like shorts, where some rules apply a little different if you got just a shorts channel, or if you're just a music channel and you've got an official. There's a couple of situations, but in general, you need to learn to start coming to the platform, get people watching, and keep them watching, because that's what YouTube values, and that's what YouTube uses to decide what content's going to be recommended. Took me a while to get that. I thought I spent too much time trying to be clever on camera, or trying to do something that I thought was cool, instead of thinking about, well, what's the conversation I'm trying to be in, and what does the viewer value? What are they interested in? Why would they watch my content? Not just this video, but why would they choose to subscribe, come back and watch week after week after week? If I'm not good at explaining that in an instant, and I don't mean once you're inside of the video, I mean in the packaging and the thumbnails and the titles, the way you make your channel art, the way your entire channel is built. If I can't show people in a glance what the value of my channel is and why they might want to check it out and maybe come back next week, then I'm not going to be able to get the viewer to convert. I'm not going to be able to get brands to understand what the value is. So that's the thing that was probably hardest for me to learn, which was really figuring out how YouTube really worked, as opposed to my pie in the sky idea of, oh, you put up videos and people watch.
That I have a question for you actually about a similar subject to that. So I need some free therapy from you right now, Daniel. So this channel, Creator Wizard, I started it actually 7-8 years ago, and it was about something completely different. I was giving life advice. So it was called Advice from Justin. And I was doing, marriage advice, like, school, career, all this stuff. It was like very, very general. And so the bulk of the subscribers that I have on this channel are from that content. And so I created content 2-3 years, I had 500 videos, something like that. And then I stopped making content. We focused on our family vlog and other stuff we were doing. And so I literally did not make videos for like 5 years. And then when I decided to start making content to help creators, this was about 1.5 years ago, I was like, should I make a new channel, or I'll just rebrand this one, the one that I already have, right? And so I hear this from creators a lot. It's like they rebranded their channel and they feel like, the notification, like the people who subscribe to them years ago for another type of content, they're not getting the click-through rate on this new type of content because they're they're not interested in this new content, right? And so yeah. What would be your advice for me or for other creators like that about, is it even possible to revive a zombie channel through just concerted effort and just beating people into submission?
Yeah, you made the choice to do it on this channel. The thing I would tell anyone who's in a situation like yours is, I have an old piece of advice that I don't know if I stole it or made it up, but I talk about it a lot, is it's a lot easier to turn a rowboat in the water than it is to turn a cruise ship, right? So if something's been established and it's got size and it's got volume and it's got some momentum to it, it's going to take a lot longer to go, whoa, we got to re-steer this thing towards the thing we're trying to do. That's going to take time. If you're just a small channel, you've only got 3 videos up and you decide to go in a new direction, rowboat, boom, spin it around, and get it out there. But what I will tell you is this. I think the biggest thing that people forget is that, a very few of your views actually come from subscribers. On an average, well-performing channel on the platform is only getting about 20 to 30% of their views from subscribed members who are actually coming back, subscribed, hit the notifications. Notifications only about 1 to 3%. So the vast majority of views to a channel that's doing well come from people who aren't subscribed to the channel. That's how a channel grows. Your content gets out in front of people who don't know who you are, haven't seen you before, and they might be interested in that content. So what you really need to do is give it a little time to turn, because you're right. You start serving, if YouTube has specific viewers that get the notification right off the bat, and there's someone who are, they're subscribed for a different reason, it's going to take a minute for that to sort of come around, filter those people out, expect them to go away, and then you have to rebuild from the ground up a bit with a new audience that's really interested in the thing you're doing. But just make sure that you're consistent to the value proposition every week, and really spend all of your time thinking about what's the viewer thinking? How do I think like the viewer? How can I provide the most value possible, but also package it in a way that at a glance, that viewer who I'm trying to reach, that target audience member who has no idea who I am and just happened to catch this video in recommendation or on search somewhere, goes, boom, that's it. Because you got to remember, every time you put up a piece of content, people think like YouTube like a search engine. The vast majority of views on YouTube come from recommendation. So you're not competing against other channels just like you're competing against the other interests of that viewer. So if I'm getting fed content every day, I'm going to get, music videos. I'm going to get stuff about, Harley Davidsons. I'm going to get stuff about growing a YouTube channel because I'm interested in that. Those are my interests. So whatever the person you're trying to reach, remember that you're trying to capture them in the moment so that when they see your video, that maybe you're teaching them how to get that brand deal, that they see it and go, wait a minute, I've got a video here about the Harley Davidson, that new guitar, but there's this one that's going to says, wait a minute, I could land a 5-figure brand deal with under 5,000 subscribers. If you package it the right way and they go, I can go check out the Harley video later. I'm watching this one right now. That's what you got to start doing. Think like the viewer. Think what triggers them. Think what's in their head and speak to that. And that's how you can really start getting your channel to gain momentum.
Well, look at Paul's anecdote right here. Mine is not subscribed 93%, subscribed 7% for the last 28 days. 1.2
Paul Peck,
million
ladies
views.
and gentlemen. Paul Peck in the house.
Right? So amazing anecdote, right? So this is, did you pay Paul, by the way,
Paul is a guy who is in my channel memberships group. I know Paul very well. And he's a perfect example of a guy. He's a drywaller in real life. That's what he does, right? He hangs drywall, mud and tapes. That's what he does for a living. You would think a guy like that, like, is that your typical YouTuber?
Right.
But he is crushing it. Silver play button artist. He's one of these guys who knows his value, knows exactly the kind of content he makes, knows how to think like the viewer, right? Is he trying to reach people who are professional, drywallers? No, they don't need his advice. He's trying to reach people like, do you ever punch a hole in the wall? Let me show you how to fix it. So when brands see him and go, hey, we make mud and tape knives and tools. We make tape. We make USG joint compound. We make gypsum board. He knows exactly who to reach out to bring on as sponsors, because those are the people that fit into his value proposition and fit with his alignment in his conversation that he's having.
Amazing. I love that. And Last Line actually had a good question, and I have a very good news for you, Last Line. It said, what's a good way to figure out if a brand deal email is legitimate or not? Okay, I'm again, like I said, you're going to be very excited about this one. I literally just released a video 2 weeks ago called Sponsorship Scams and How to Avoid Them. Okay. And I actually go through, let me show you here. I go through emails. Like, I actually walk through them. Okay. So we're going to like deconstruct them about whether they're not a scam or not. So I'm going to drop this in the chat for those of you guys who are watching on YouTube. I'm going to share this with you. And you could watch this because I actually asked a bunch of creators, hey, forward me your emails that you aren't sure whether they're scams or not. And so this was a really fun video. So what it really comes down to, Last Line though, is using kind of your good judgment. Like, if it seems, go with your gut. If it seems like it's a scam, if they're asking you to download a zip file to sign the contract, that's probably not going to cut it. If the domain name on their email address is Nike-online-CZ, then it's probably not from Nike. But like but here's the thing, Daniel, is what really makes me upset about this is that a lot of creators don't know that, they get very it's like to me, it's like, this is clearly obvious, and they're like forwarding it to me, and I'm just like, it's just like, I feel angry because the brands are trying to prey on creators. That's what makes me angry.
Well,
so
that's
like,
the thing you said way back then. We were talking about learn when to say no. What happens is creators get so excited that, oh my gosh, a brand reached out to me, that they get blinded. They get the blinders on. They don't stop and go, wait a minute, let me do my due diligence. Let me do some research. Let me look up this company. Let me look up this email address. Let me find what let me do all the research behind it to make sure this is legit. Let me reach out to other people in the community and go, hey, can someone else give me 2 seconds here? Has anybody worked with this company? Anybody else? You go to Twitter, go to Facebook, go anywhere, get into the community and ask other people, does this look legitimate, or is this something I should maybe avoid? Plenty of great groups out there, plenty of great resources, like Justin himself. You could do that on Twitter and go, you could tweet and go, hey, Justin, do me a favor. Does this look real? And Justin will be there to go, hang on a second, let me take a peek.
Yeah, exactly right. Does this sponsorship look legit? Do not be afraid to ask fellow members of your community. One of the biggest pieces of advice, I think, that's really, really critical is, being a creator can be pretty lonely sometimes. I don't know if you have ever felt that at any point in your career. And I think that the biggest remedy to that is just try to surround yourself with other people. I don't know about how, like, if this has been your experience in life, Daniel, but it's just like, friends and family in your like real life, it's just, they really just don't get what it's like to be a creator. It's very hard to describe the treadmill, the content treadmill, like just psychologically what it's like being a creator, deriving.
How many times has a relative said to you, okay, explain to me again how it is you make money?
Dude, you know what's so funny? Like when we first started, when I quit my I was in medical devices before this. When I quit my job 6 weeks after my first son was born, people thought I was nuts because I had a nice, cushy 6-figure income as a product manager for a medical device company, and here I am quitting my job to be a YouTuber. Not only that was like 7-8 years ago. So like, I feel like now people kind of get that you can make money from being a creator, especially if they're on their Instagram, they see
some
people,
of them get it.
Paid partnership with brands. So it's like, I feel like it's kind of pervaded the cultural zeitgeist to a certain degree that people kind of get you could be a creator and make money. But still, like I remember 8 years ago, people would just constantly ask us like, so what do you do for a living? What's your job? Like, how do you make money? And it's just like, whenever we said, oh, we were YouTubers, people would be like, so, well, that's interesting. So how do you make money?
Like, they'll
on
believe
YouTube,
it.
right?
They want to know, right. They want to know what the scam is that you're pulling off.
Well, what did your family think when you stopped being a contractor?
Well, it's funny. My girlfriend looked at me and was like, when we had been together for like a decade already, and she's like, what is it you're doing now? But I've also been self-employed my entire life, literally my entire life. So she knows that I come from a business acumen of I wouldn't do something if I didn't think I had a shot at it. And it was tricky. She definitely, it was weird going like, you got all these trucks and guys and tools, and I'm going like, yeah, now we're going to get rid of all that, and I'm going to get a camera. And I'm going to get me a computer that'll let me edit videos. So it was tricky, but I had established some proof of concept, and there was money coming in, and they were just finding the right time to make the changeover, to have enough money in the bank and just kind of go, I got to go all in now. But it was tricky. But one of the things that I don't want to overlook was exactly what you were talking about when you're talking about that great video you made and learning how to spot a scam. Community is everything. Think about community. If you and it is lonely being a creator, make it less lonely. Before today, Justin and I had never spoken. We've done Twitter and stuff, but I don't know Justin. We aren't longtime friends, but I'm always,
we are now, bro.
Oh, now you're stuck with me.
Yeah,
there's going to be hair all over the place. Hair product sponsors all over your content. No, but that's the thing. Is like being open, talking to people, being part of other conversations, reaching out, being more than just the only creator out there. I don't even care if it's a creator who does nothing like the content you make. That's how I know guys like Paul Peck. That's how I know people that are in the chat, because we're all content creators. We're all doing the same thing. We share the mission of making content on YouTube. So be a part of a community, get perspective, learn to meet other people, and learn to become friends so you can have conversations and people you can reach out to, and people who may reach out to you because you might know something that they need help on, and you can say, I can help you with that. Trying to get rid of the isolation can be hugely beneficial when you start surrounding yourself with community. Because I'll tell you what, a lot of great brand deals I got was because someone who I knew from the platform somewhere said they weren't interested in a specific deal, but they said, you know who'd be great for this? Daniel Batal. Let me give you his info.
What I love about that is I feel like that kind of thing always comes back around, especially if, you know, a brand reaches out to one of your friends and it's not a great fit and they say, hey, you know, Daniel would be great. And that's one of the other piece of advice I give to creators is like, hey, if you want to get more brand deal flow, start becoming a known quantity in other creators' comment sections, right? Because it's about like, you know, at that point, when even if you don't know them directly, right? But you are a very vocal advocate for them, you're, you know, cheering them on every time they get a partnership, all this stuff. The next time that you see them getting a deal with a brand that you would like to work with, you won't feel as awkward DMing them and saying, hey, I've been, you know, I would, you know, congratulations on this partnership. I would love to work with that brand as well. If you've been like a vocal supporter for a year in their comment section, like, you think they're going to like be concerned, like giving you that, making that intro for you? No, that's what you need to do, right? So I think a lot of creators think that they look at all other creators as like competitors. It's like, oh my God, like this other people in my niche, like I don't want to like talk to them, like, you know, though they're stealing deals from me. No, like there is rising tides float all boats.
It's
right?
I think it's funny, and I explain this to people all the time. I think the exact opposite, because we were saying earlier, like being a content creator, even though it's becoming more accepted nowadays, it's still kind of a weird thing. People look at like, and they like, how do you make money at that? I look at it just like this. The reason I help so many other creators try to reach their own goals and hit success on the platform is I look at the entire experience like Tony Hawk and skateboarding. Skateboarding used to be a bunch of, you know, punk kids on the sidewalks, you know, and, you know, all the Dogtown boys, you know, out in LA. And it took guys like Tony Hawk that brought it to the next level. And they started having, you know, X Games. And it took guys like Shaun White, who then brought it to snowboarding, skateboarding, and then a snowboarder too. And they started bringing snowboarding into the Olympics when it was, I'm a snowboarder. We used to get kicked off the mountains. They wouldn't even let us on there with snowboards. It's about bringing legitimacy to the platform. The more successful content creators there are on YouTube, the better the economy is for every single one of us. My mission is to help as many people as I can as I'm trying to find my own success on the platform, because we will grow together. We will make the platform bigger every single day. I need everyone out there in this chat and anyone watching on the replay to find their success, because you make it easier for me to leverage my own.
Absolutely. And you know what is a great indicator of that? You know, the creator economy, you know, parlance, which has blown up over the last 6 to 12 months. Obviously, we've all been creators for a lot longer, but it seems like the buzzword du jour, you know, over the last 12 months. One huge indicator for everyone here listening who is creators is that there is a massive, massive amount of venture capital dollars flowing into all of the startups in this space to try to service the creator economy. This space is going to be literally 10x in 5 years. Everyone thinks like, oh, like, you know, it's so saturated, I can never become a creator. Like, no. Like, it's
more
going to be
money was spent last year by advertisers on YouTube than any other social media platform.
Boom.
Think about that.
Right? So there's so much money flowing into this space. There's enough for everyone. Daniel, I feel like we could keep talking for hours and hours about this stuff, or I could continue gazing into that glorious mane of yours for another hour. But I want to value your time. So what is I want to just like quickly ask you, like, what would be your biggest advice for creators about what they should be thinking about moving into 2022?
Be brand friendly. Make it easy for brands to understand the value that you're putting out there and how that value can help them push their own value and find alignment in the conversations you're already having. Make sure that you're brand friendly.
I love to hear it. And real quickly, to just split hairs real quick there, that doesn't necessarily mean you need to be a walking advertisement.
Nope.
Right? It just needs to, the way I say it is that, like, you know, when a brand is landing on your YouTube channel, it's like your resume, right? They're going to take 15 seconds. They're going to look at it. So if your thumbnails are risque, if your titles are a little bit, I don't know, right? Pass. That brand is going to pass on you. So it's like there does have to be a balance there between
and not even on your channel. Listen, B, you are an entity. So when you go to Twitter, when you go to Instagram, when you go to Facebook, when you go to Twitch, wherever you're occupying space and you can be found, don't be getting like put in Facebook jail. Don't be getting banned from Instagram. Don't be getting in drama on Twitter and getting into fights, because all those things, trust me, brands, if they're looking into you and you're trying to negotiate a serious deal, something that isn't $200, you're actually trying to create something, they're going to look into you across social media, and you need to make sure that everything you do in your presence is brand friendly.
Oh my God, Daniel, you are speaking my language. What I call it is they do a holistic social persona evaluation of you, because what happens, Daniel, just because a brand partners with you on YouTube, if you say something crazy on Twitter, they're going to get blowback. It doesn't matter that they didn't post with, like, partner with you on Twitter, right? Because they're just going to get blown up anyway. So this is happening. You need to ensure that however you're conducting yourself on social media online, that will come back to the brand. So I love, this is like, my mind is blown right now. And even though I feel like we've been bros for years, Daniel, and no, but I appreciate you so much taking the time to jump on. So how can creators follow you? Or, by the way, you guys, you can book Daniel. He's a channel consultant. You can book him. I'm going to pull up your page here, do a little bit more promo for you. So yeah, give us the plug. How can people find you?
Yeah, it's pretty much my name. So like my website is danielbatal.com. You can go there, that you can actually book consulting time with me if you're looking to get some in-depth channel consultations and coaching to come up with a strategic growth strategy for your type of channel and what you're trying to do. You can also, my name of my channel on YouTube is also Daniel Batal. On Twitter, I'm Daniel Batal. Pretty much everywhere I'm Daniel Batal. So that's the easiest way to find me. Usually Twitter and YouTube is the easiest places to find me. If you're looking for some consultations, head over to danielbatal.com.
You heard it here first. Thank you so much again, Daniel. This was a great conversation. Thank you everyone so much for tuning in. And we're going to be back next week, next Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern for another live stream. Make sure to go check out Daniel. Make sure to hire him. I might hire you, Daniel. I don't know. Maybe even just for a little bit of therapy, because I feel better after this conversation.
Hair therapy.
But thanks again. Have a great weekend, Daniel. And we'll see everyone next time. Thanks again.
Peace.